Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, yeah, Finebaum, he ripped into the VOLS and Nico, which wasn't unexpected, but the Nico thing didn't make a whole lot of sense. And can the VOLS fix their major problem? And it's a major problem if you want to win a natty. That's really the whole key to this thing. You know, Tennessee's been a good team the last 3 years, darn good. You know, they've averaged 10 wins, which there are very few teams that can say that, especially when you play in the SEC. But if you want to win a natty, there's going to have to be some improvement in certain areas, and some of that is outside of the team's control and the coach's control. So anyway, we're going to get into that. Let's see what Mr. Finebaum had to say. And this is a story by Zach Reagan, and if you're not following Zach Reagan, you're missing out. Now, we've got some great journalists that cover the VOLS. This dude's outstanding. He just really is. Anyway, he says Paul Finebaum takes an unfair and unnecessary shot at Tennessee VOLS and, of course, quarterback Nico. And it talked about the 42-17 loss to Ohio State. It was tragic. And Finebaum said, I don't even know where to go with this team, Tennessee, and I really don't care at this point. Most reasonable fans knew they were going to struggle in that environment, just like they've struggled in every other environment this year, other than Vanderbilt, where they had more fans. So that's just a flaw in the Tennessee system and maturity level of Nico. Now, I thought Nico was really the one guy who really showed up against Ohio State. He had very little time to throw the ball. Their corners and their defensive secondary, which is filled with All-Americans, there were no gaps. And what really stunk for us, we lose our primary weapon, which was Sampson, who was, 22 touchdowns, 1,500 yards. He plays 2 plays. Then we lost our slot receiver in Squirrel White. He goes out with injury right off the bat. And then Dante Thornton, who is our deep threat, who's going to stretch the defense, he goes out early. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. I'm telling you, we just had injury after injury. And then Nico, who lacks maturity, got his head knocked off. There was a crack in his helmet. Dude had a crack in his helmet after he got smacked. Got right up, went right back out there. And Pat McAfee spoke to that, and he saw the same game I did when it came to Nico.
There is one player from Tennessee that we complimented throughout the evening, and we would like to maintain that here on this beautiful Monday. Nico Iamaleava is a dog. Mm-hmm. And I have very high expectations for him going forward. Every time he took a massive shot, not only from an Ohio State guy, but also from the turf, which is much harder every single time you hit it. He bounced right back up. I think he's a Cali boy. Him coming into that, handling it that way, I think is great for their future. Congrats to Tennessee on a great season. Got your ass beat in the cold. That's going to happen in these playoffs.
Yeah, Pat's got that right. That's the same game I saw. I thought he did a terrific job in a very difficult situation. His weapons were gone for the most part. He did have Brew McCoy left, and he had 1 or 2 guys that could catch a ball, but they couldn't get any separation. And again, you know, there's some big money guys in that secondary for Ohio State. They've got the top defense in the country, and we're going to get into why that is. But I thought Nico was the one guy that he tried to do everything he could. I mean, there was not much left he could do. He was running all over the place. He was getting us first downs when there was nothing open, and he didn't have a running threat. And what we got to talk about is, can we fix this problem? Now, again, if you want to win 8, 9, 10 games a year, we can keep doing exactly what we're doing, and we're going to be fine. And I know a lot of people want to blame the coaches. They want to blame this. They want to blame that. And it's pretty obvious what the problem is based on the numbers that we've looked at. And I've shown you this earlier, and this has really caused a lot of controversy, and I understand that. I just thought I was putting out some obvious stuff that this is why we're struggling. But it kind of blew up on X and some other places, and in the comment section, I took a lot of grief over it. But I was just trying to explain why I think we are where we are, which is not a bad place. It's just not where we'd like to be, I don't think. And I put this out, which is NIL, and it shows how much money each program has. And I showed you, we're at $11.6 million, which is about 17th in the country, right in that neighborhood. And the team that we played is at 20.2. Well, that's $8.5 million more money.
Comes in pretty handy down here, bub.
Oh,
And guess what? With $8.5 million, I mean, that's almost double what we have, folks. So they're going to have a lot more talent. I showed you the 2 running backs they've got. And then the wide receiver who had a 101 rating. He was the #1 player in the country, And he's the only player I've ever seen that had over 100 rating. And they've got a bunch of those guys, which is what you can do with $20 million. And right here you see all the top teams, Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame, and Ohio State and Georgia, 5 of the top 6. They're the ones that are killing it. And they're, of course, still alive in the playoff. And here they sit. Really, with the exception of the teams that got in because of this, the gift that keeps on giving, which is the college football playoff, where they're letting a group of 5 team in automatically, and then they let the conference champions, no matter what, in as a bye. You know, Tennessee did pretty good under the circumstances of how much money they've got in NIL. Now, a lot of people have asked where I got the information. Well, I got it from the interwebs. I'll show you the place I got it. And this was on Sports Grid, and it shows ranking the top 24 Power 5 teams by collective funding or NIL. And it had Texas at number 1 at $22 million, and then Ohio State, and here's LSU, and Georgia, et cetera, and so on. That's where I got it from, just so y'all know. I didn't make it up or anything. Now, I had to add a couple of teams in the ranking that wasn't included in that. Notre Dame, I don't know if they don't report or what the deal was there, but I had to add them, and Oregon. And that's where I came up with this list. And that was right here. And I did have that one mistake. I had accidentally put Michigan on here twice, and it should have been Michigan and Michigan State. And I do make mistakes.
You serious, Clark?
I do. I'm just a regular dude with a job that just does YouTube. So I screw up from time to time, and I screwed up on that one, not having Michigan State on there and having Michigan twice. So it's just, for some reason, I just get Michigan and Michigan State confused a little bit. Let me assure you, those two teams never mix each other up. But anyway, here's what was going on X. And this was Voldemort, which is a cool name. Anyway, he showed this. He said, if this is really where we are with NIL, we can expect more of the same. And here was that chart. Again, I had to screw up of the Michigan. But it's got 108,000 views. Voldemort says, can't spend half as much as the big dogs and expect to hang with them. I can't disagree. I just can't. So how do we fix it? Well, it's just the NIL's got to improve. That's what it boils down to. And let me speak to whether or not I think this is right or not. Look, I cannot back all this up. Like I said, I got it off the internet, and I don't work for Spire Sports. And since I don't and don't have inside information, you know, I'm just going by what I see on the internet. Now, I will tell you this. It does kind of line up with recruiting, because I thought after we won 11 games in 2022, we had the #1 offense in the country, hottest coach, all of that, and we had playing time available, that we would kill it in recruiting in 2023.
You sure about that?
And 2024 and 2025. I thought we'd get in the top 5, no problem. We were just, we were the hottest team in the country. People were talking all about us. And Josh Heupel, you know, like I said, he was the hot coach. But when you look at where we finished, here's 2023. We finished 10th. Okay, we didn't finish top 5. We finished 10th, which is not bad. That's totally fine. But it's not top 5. It's not where you got to be if you want to win an Addy. All right, 2024. As you can see, going down the line here, we fell down to 14th. So, you know, 10th and 14th. And then there for a while, it looked like maybe we'd have a chance to get in the top 5. We finished 11th. So it's not, here's the thing. If you're in the teens in NIL money and you're finishing in the teens in recruiting, and actually he's finishing a little better than what the NIL is, you know, and that's because I think he is he's a hot coach out there. People really are excited about the Josh Heupel offense and the things that he's done and the improvements he's made. You know, our defense has improved a lot. Our secondary improved dramatically. Now, when we went up against an NFL level wide receiver group with Jeremiah Smith and all those guys, good Lord. They had separation, no problem, and they didn't have any trouble getting open. But again, that was an NFL squad versus a really good college team, which is what we are. But when you can spend $21 million and we're spending 11.6 or whatever it is, it makes a huge difference. And that has to be fixed on some level, or we need to be satisfied with winning 8, 9, 10 games a year, which again, there's a lot of teams out there would love to do that.
My Alabama Crimson Tide.
And I do think they're going to change this playoff. It's probably going to get a little bit easier to get into it because they're going to add teams. They have to because of money purposes and because everybody's upset. There are a lot of quality teams didn't get in. Ole Miss didn't get in. South Carolina had a great year. They should have had a chance. Alabama, and Miami. Had those 4 teams gotten in, had we had 16 teams, I don't think the complaining would have been near as bad, and I think we'd had better games. But unfortunately, because you had some teams that were automatic qualifiers, you had to kick out teams that probably should have been in there. So it makes it tricky. If you're going to do that auto stuff, you're going to have to spread out the field a little bit more, add more games. They need the money anyway, and that'll solve some of the problems. But that's not going to solve being able to compete against an Ohio State or a Georgia or Oregon or all these teams that are spending $20 to $23 million and we're spending $11, $12 million bucks. That's not going to fix it. And you certainly can't have multiple injuries in the first quarter of a ball game going up against those guys on the road. Even if you do have 30,000 people that traveled, which was fantastic, by the way. I think it kind of shocked people in Ohio. They were like, God, can you believe this? They've never had 30,000 people in that stadium from the opposing team. I know that for a fact. There's no way people got that many tickets. I think it kind of angered them a little bit, but that's, hey, Tennessee travels. We love our team. We just may have to love them in a different way. We may have to start getting that NIL up somehow, some way, and with, donations to Spire Sports. So it just boils down to the fact that we've got to raise more NIL money, or we need to be satisfied with being a darn good team. It's not like we had an embarrassing season. 10-2 in the regular season, playing in the SEC. It's not bad at all. So anyway, just thought I would address that situation, talk about it a little bit. And hopefully things will improve. But again, I remember when we were, 3-7 and 30 guys were transferring out and we had a huge NCAA scandal on us. I mean, we were the lowest of the low, and Pat Forday was dancing on our metaphorical grave, and not now. But it does hurt to lose like that to Ohio State. It just does. So anyway, it's Christmas Eve. We had a good year. Let's not be too down and glum about it. I thought we had a darn good year. And Nico's only going to get better. And maybe we can get some guys out of transfer portal, and who knows, maybe Santa Claus will help with the NIL or something. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, 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 right there's a button. Hit that right there. It won't cost you a dime. Help you get my videos. And right over here is the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on the algorithm or in viewing history or something. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.
Merry Christmas! Dinner was full!